evening, everybody. This time we are starting with polity module. Okay. So now we are talking about polity. So when we talk about polity, you said that there is political parties. You have your country's constitution mainly, and depending on what is written in the constitution, a country functions accordingly, and it has its parliament, it has its judiciary, and all other elements which more or less function together to give you something called the government. Okay, so this can be put under one heading called the political structure of the country. So how your political structure is, depending on that the political parties function, and depending on that your government functions. So it is the political structure what you are going to study under this subject now. So when you see the importance of polity in the exam, if you see, easily you have from 15 to 18 questions in prelims, and in mains you have a rock solid of 4 to 5 questions which come from polity. So 15 to 18 questions is, a very important part, because you have to get somewhere close to 90 marks. That means 45 questions. And in 45 questions, this 12 to 15 questions what come every year play the major role for you to clear the exam. So without polity, there is no chance that you're going to clear the exam. So that 12 questions what you get in the exam, for an example I am taking, if you take science is a very vast subject. So you have to study physics, chemistry, biology. You don't know, there are so many experiments going on and so many new things that come out in the current affairs. You can gradually narrow it down, one to artificial intelligence and the other is your space programs that is going on from India's side. But other than that, you cannot just tell from which disease, from which part of chemistry, or what of physics he is going to ask in the exam. So it is a greater gamble when you take geography, when you take science. Geography is a bigger gamble because you have to do mapping, you have to learn all the concepts, and you don't know from which part he is going to exactly ask the question from. So it becomes bigger study, and you have to cover many sources. You have to cover your NCERT, you have to cover your newspaper, you have to study an additional textbook, you have to follow various notes for it. So it becomes more difficult to narrow down the preparation. But when it comes to polity, if you study 1 to 2 books, because constitution is very limited in its sense, it is not very vast, and current affairs also is up to the point. So if you're doing an amendment, and inside that you have provisions only. Beyond that, there is nothing in polity to study. So it is a limited structure of constitution, a limited way in which it functions. Randomly now, tomorrow morning, president doesn't get up and do random things. So there is a particular order they have to follow for functioning. So it is very limited. So you study polity and you understand polity and you prepare for polity very well, and you go out of 12 to 15 questions, very easily you can target 10. So 10 is the number that we are looking at in your prelims. Very easily, if 12 questions are there, you will get 10 correct. And if you have 15 to 18 questions, it is very easy to target at least 15 questions correct. So it is, more of a predictable game in your in your prelims. So it is very predictable answers that you can take, and most of the times negative marking is very less. So provided you prepare well, you study well, and you go to the exam, the preparation is going to be up to the mark, then you can answer very easily 12 to 15 questions in polity with less negative marking. That is the advantage of the subject. And in your mains, more or less, you can prepare on the lines of your current affairs, whatever latest amendments they are doing, etc. Like, for example, I'll take a very simple example that is going around in your country now. So one is UCC. They're telling that everywhere UCC. That is nothing but Uniform Civil Code. So they're trying to bring Uniform Civil Code. So you can tell that this is one expected question for your mains. The other is, you are seeing that all the South Indian states are going and protesting in North India because they are not happy with the budget. Budget itself is polity. So you have to study budgeting in polity. You will not study the allocations and all. You'll study the process of budget, how you do budget, what is there in budget. So you're going to study that in polity. So you have the budgeting and the budgeting structure in polity. Then you have to understand why the South Indian states are not happy with the budget and they are going and protesting. What is the right that a state government has to go and protest against the central government? So all these are some of the predictable questions. So center state relationship, what is the state unhappy with and what are they protesting and asking for? So all this is center state relationship, financial relationship between center and state. So these are the questions that are very easily predictable. And your Supreme Court is giving a lot of verdicts. So Supreme Court is another possible question that can come. So questions can be narrowed down in your preparation for mains also, depending on the current affairs. So more or less, it can be, a narrowed directional preparation, which you cannot do for other subjects. So you don't know exactly what will come in history, or you don't know exactly what will come in your geography. So it is much more difficult to narrow it down there and to have a directed preparation. Here you have one textbook. If you study one or two textbooks, you can answer 10 questions of prelims. You can answer 12 questions of prelims. So prelims is also in the pocket and mains is also in the pocket. Anybody who has cleared the exam, if you ask them, polity is on fingertips. Okay, so you have to understand one thing. You're trying to work for the government, and government is polity, political structure. So if you don't know polity, then you have, very feeble chances of going and clearing the exam and working for the government. So you're trying to work for something. So this is your company. So your company is the government. So you're trying to work for this government, understand what is government, how the government functions, and the best possibility of clearing the exam comes with it. So prepare well for polity. Try to understand the concept very well, because you cannot mug up everything. Only thing that you have to mug up is the fact that is your article number and parts of the constitution, schedules of the constitution. These are the only three things that you can mug up. Okay, and mugging up comes with practice, 2 or 3 times reading. Otherwise, rest everything is concept based. You have to understand the concept. Please understand the concept. On the same day, please go read the textbook. Okay, so please go read the textbook and finish reading it along with me. So there will be around 50 classes that I will take. So by the end of 50 classes, you will also have prepared for almost 70% of polity, and only 30% will be left out, which will be very simple topics, and it is the upcoming current affairs which has not happened yet. So that alone you have to prepare on your own. And when your basic foundation is very good, you can, propel your studies further very easily. So along with me, please read it 2 times, once after the class and once before you come to the class. So half an hour to 1 hour of preparation, if you put in every day after class and before class, it is going to be very helpful. Okay, so you have to study along with me. Don't keep it lagging. If you keep it lagging, then you will never have that mood to prepare also, and you will not be able to clear doubts. Because one thing with polity, I will tell you, every time you read the textbook, you discover something new in polity. Okay, so I'd like to tell you, you already know. So Dr. Ambedkar is the architect of the Indian Constitution. So in what language did Ambedkar sir write the Constitution?
Ma'am, English.
Okay. So it was written in English. Okay, so it was written in English. Why did they choose English?
Ma'am, because our constitution is summary of a lot of other constitution, and those constitution like Britain, Irish, and other constitution. So it may be for reference. They have referred lot of constitutions, and all those constitution are in English. So that's why it is in English.
Okay. So it was written in English because English can be interpreted in different meanings, and it can be written in a complicated way. So as we progress with the subject, you will notice that Supreme Court is the interpreter. Okay, so when you don't understand anything in Constitution, you have to ask somebody. So you go and ask Supreme Court, what is the meaning of this that has been written in the Constitution? And Supreme Court will give the meaning, and whatever meaning Supreme Court will give, you will accept it. You will not cross question Supreme Court, and you will not argue with Supreme Court. You will not fight with Supreme Court, telling that how can you be correct? How do you know this is not like that? You have interpreted it in a wrong way. It is not like that. So Constitution only has very clearly said whatever Supreme Court interprets and explains, that is the meaning of the Constitution. And Supreme Court changes the meanings. Supreme Court one time will tell this is correct. Next hearing it will tell this is wrong. You cannot ask the Supreme Court. Whatever the latest thing that the Supreme Court has told, that is correct. And you have to accept that. Okay, English is like that. English in our Constitution is written in such complicated way that you can get different meanings out of it one time when you read it. Okay, so when you look at a rose, you look at it that it is very beautiful. You look at it that it is red in color or yellow in color, whatever. So it is a very beautiful rose. You are looking at it. But next time you look at the rose, you are focusing only on the thorns. And you tell, flower is beautiful, but very difficult to hold. I don't like it. So it is like that. So one rose has two different scenarios of interpretation. One time you're feeling it to be absolutely beautiful, and one time you're feeling it to be very negative, and you're only focusing on the thorn, and you're not looking at the flower. First time when you saw it, you were so mesmerized with rose, you didn't focus on the thorn. Second time you're reading it, you see the flower, but along with it, you're seeing the thorn as well. So that is how your English is in polity. So every time you read it, every time you will get new information. So if anybody is preparing as I am telling, and if you're reading it with me, you read one chapter today, you will get one meaning for it. Tomorrow you read it, you get one more meaning for it. So each and every teacher also reads it so many times. Teacher also gets so many meanings out of it. Students also get so many meanings out of it. So if any student has cleared the exam, you can ask them. They know the entire polity by hearted, and they know each and every concept by hearted that is given in the textbook. And along with that, you have to read polity at least 5 to 6 times the entire textbook before you go and attempt the exam. Without 5 or 6 readings, I'm telling very less number. As you develop interest in the subject, you'll go on reading it more number of times. But at least 5 or 6 times reading is mandatory before you go and attempt the exam. Okay. So this is coming to prelims paper. That is your essay paper on which majority of your marks are sitting. So one part is your optional, which accounts for 300 marks. It is 500 marks, but you have to get 300 marks out of it. So you're getting almost 1/4 of your marks or 1/3 of your marks from optional. But the other next part is your essay paper, which again is for 250 marks. And anybody who has cleared the exam, you can see them that they have got around 140 or 150 in essay paper. And in essay paper, no matter what topic is written, you have to write the relevant political structure for it. If you don't write the relevant political structure, your essay is completely incomplete. So essay cannot be finished without polity. So you have to understand polity, you have to read polity, and in that essay paper, when you're writing it, you should be able to link to which part of polity it is falling under, what can you do, etc. So if you're talking about poverty, poverty is one of the topics that will be asked in the exam. So poverty you're talking about, you should understand what is government doing to poverty, where is constitution talking about poverty, and where is constitution telling what to do to reduce poverty. So you have to write that part of the constitution, because government functions in a particular way. Morning, they are not waking up randomly doing things. They are doing it according to constitution. So where in constitution he has written about poverty? Where in constitution he has written about agriculture? Where in constitution he has written about farmer welfare? So all these things become important, and what can be done, how it is done, where the money is coming from, where the money goes, everything is important, and it comes from your polity. Okay, so essay paper, it is very important to write around 150 to 200 words at least in polity. So your essay paper is around 1200 words. So you'll write around 1200 words. So at least 250 words will sit on polity. Means it is almost 1/4 of your essay, because 1250 you'll not be able to write 1000. You'll write around 1000 to 1100. So you're writing 250 words on polity itself, and without polity, essay is not finished. So it sits in polity. The other part, important part of your mains exam is your ethics paper. And if you don't know constitution, how will you come to a decision? You cannot come to a decision only. So you have to tell your opinion about a situation what decision you're going to make in a situation, and what you will be your reaction, and how you're going to react to a situation that is going around in your district or anywhere. So when the question is like that, you should know the polity properly, and you should justify your act, that constitution says like this, that is why I will take this decision and I will be in line with the constitution. Okay, so for example, there have been many questions. Okay, so they say that, one of your relative is doing some crime and you find out, what will be your reaction to it? So you have to tell that, that I am going to be in line with constitution, this is a provision in the constitution for that crime, hence I will take this as my decision. So you have to give that decision, and you have to tell it in lines with constitution. You cannot tell, that I'll become emotional and I'll go and I'll hide the crime of my relative or my cousin, or I'll help my cousin, or I'll take a strict action and I'll, penalize my cousin. What if the act he has done is not even a crime? You cannot go and you cannot penalize it. So you have to understand what is the nature of crime, whether it is constitutional, non-constitutional, then come to a decision. So you have to write it in lines of polity. So polity becomes important for ethics paper, it becomes important for essay paper, and you have your entire polity and governance paper only, in which you will be writing significant questions in mains, at least 5 questions in mains. So we are looking at comfortable around 75 marks in mains, and we are looking at 10 questions in prelims, which can be put in your pocket very easily. And I'm talking about only GS1. So GS2, sorry. If you take essay and if you take ethics, everything, then it comes close to 200 to 300 marks in your mains exam. So it becomes very important. Please concentrate on it. Any doubt you have, please come back and ask, so we can clarify it, and we can get maximum clarity on the subject. So most of you would have studied polity, or you would have studied. Somebody has a question to ask.
Yeah, so ma'am Fanish here. I want to, you have mentioned already that 50 classes around you will take, for example, right? This shall
Yes.
be within a span of how much days or month?
Sorry.
This shall be for how long month, ma'am? How much weeks?
Weekly you will get 5 classes, Monday to Friday. So it is 50
Right.
classes.
So currently 50 classes and this window only, na? So this period like today only, 7 to 8, sorry, 8 to 9:30 time, right?
Yeah. It is from 8 to 9:45.
Okay. So now coming to the structure, will you going to share some, question, answer writing, question writing something, or PYQ between the
Yes.
every
MCQs,
concept?
I cannot do many MCQs because it kills a lot of time. So once in 2 days or once in 3 days, I'll pick up few questions and I'll put it, and we can discuss them. Mains questions will be given every day. Now for first 3 days, there is no mains because it is a basic concept. After that, whatever mains question is there with the topic, I'll give the question.
Yeah, because why ask this question? So because it will be required to help us retain the and you for you to understand that if what's our understanding the concept also. So this is the
Yeah.
reverse thing, right?
Yes, it is that way only. I'll tell you how to write the answers for 1 or 2 questions. After that, we will continue to give questions. You will write the answers and you will mail it to us. And that will be
Yeah.
evaluated and sent back.
Is it possible? Yeah, thank you. Last question, mine. Is it possible to highlight the previous year questions concept wise and divide those questions into concepts? Is it possible to take some
Concept
PY?
wise, you want questions that you will have
Ma'am,
to
your
ask
network.
your coordinator. Please ask
Yeah,
that to the coordinator.
true. Thank you. Yeah,
Okay, please ask with your coordinator, because I'll give practice questions based on current affairs, what is going on trending. Accordingly, I'll give the questions here. Okay, so you ask coordinator, communicate with the coordinator.
absolutely. Thank you.
People, you would have already studied polity in your college. So you'll know the basic definitions and the basic concepts. few people wouldn't have studied. So today now we will try to understand basic terms that are present in polity. Once you understand the terms, further I'll be using that language and you should understand that. If you don't read these basic terms and if you don't come out with a clarity for tomorrow's class, understanding the class becomes very difficult. Understanding the textbook also becomes very difficult, because you will not have a hold on the basic terms. So basic terms are very important. Okay, so always try to have a clarity on basic terms. If you have any doubts regarding basic terms, please do ask me, come back to me, and please ask me in the next class. Okay, so the first term that we are going to take up definitely is going to be constitution. So anybody can tell me what is constitution? Constitution, whatever you have understood, please tell.
It's a set of
It's
guidelines under which a country should act.
Your voice was not very clear, so can you just
It's basically a set of guidelines under which a country will be working. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So it is set of guidelines under which a country functions. Okay, so these guidelines can be written, it can be unwritten. So we have both types of constitution. Not necessarily that every time it has to be a written constitution. So tomorrow we'll see in depth what is a written constitution and what is a unwritten constitution. Okay, so you have to understand that in greater depth. So that is a separate topic. We'll do it tomorrow. So you need a set of guidelines to be followed to function. So those set of guidelines are called as constitution, can be written, can be unwritten. That is your constitution. Okay. Now coming to inside your constitution, you have three parts inside your constitution. Okay. So your constitution has three parts. So the first part of your constitution will be your legislature. The second part will be executive. And the third part is your judiciary. So these are the three main organs of your constitution. Okay. So it has a legislature, it has an executive, and it has a judiciary. So legislature, what is your legislature? Legislature is a body that makes laws. Okay, legislature is a body that makes the laws. Okay, so I'll take a very simple example. It is your house. Father makes the laws. Mother implements it. Okay, mother implements it. And judiciary is a body who sits and sees whether they are doing the work properly or not. Okay, so legislature is the father who is making the law. Anybody who implements the law is the executive. And judiciary is there to solve the issues between legislature and executive and solve the problems of the people. So in your house, you will see that, executive and judiciary both are mother. Mother only decides whether to complain to the father or not. Father makes the laws but doesn't have time to implement, goes to work. Mother is there with work, also will implement it very well. And mother is the one who is implementing all the laws of the family, and she is the judiciary who is checking also. But in our government, we have three organs. In my house, a mother can do everything. But government, you have three different organs. So the first organ is your legislature, who makes laws. Very simple example. What is your law? GST is a law. So when you're purchasing some good or when you're taking some service, okay, if you're taking a school education, that is a service. If you're going to a hospital and taking some help from the doctor, that is a service. If you are purchasing a mobile phone, it is a good. If you are purchasing a biscuit, it is a good. So if you're taking a good or if you're taking a service, government has said that you will pay tax called GST, goods and service tax, and there are different slabs for it. So that is a law. That is a law. Who made this law? Obviously, Parliament made this law in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, so the Parliament who makes these laws called GST is called as the legislative body. Legislative body is a body that makes laws. Okay, so they make the law. They made that GST law. Next, you have to actually implement it. Implementation means what? When you are going to an educational center, hospital, etc., somebody has to collect that tax. or if you're purchasing something, somebody has to actually collect that tax. That actual collection of tax is execution or implementation. So who implements it and who executes it? It is your finance minister who implements it. So the Ministry of Finance, they are responsible because it is finance, it falls under the Ministry of Finance, and they are responsible for collection of that tax, and they are collecting that tax. So they collect that tax and they are implementing the law. So a person makes the law, another person implements the law. So implementing body is the executive. Executive is nothing else but your ministries. So whatever ministries you see, Home Ministry, Defense Ministry, Foreign Ministry, whatever ministry you see, they all collectively fall under the category of executive, and the legislative body is a body which makes your laws, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha at center. I'm not talking about the state. Whenever we make references, it will be center. Okay, so at center you have Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha making the laws, and your executives, those are the ministries who are implementing the laws. So one body is legislative, one body is executive. The third body is judiciary. So what is judiciary looking at? Judiciary is looking at the constitution. Okay, why? Because constitution can be changed. You can amend the constitution, you can change the constitution. Like for example, GST itself was a change in constitution. So GST is something which you are very well aware of it. So before GST, what used to happen? Center used to collect the taxes separately. State used to collect the taxes separately. Center separate, state separate. There was a problem with this. FDI, whenever foreign companies used to come, they had a problem with this, and foreign companies complained that throughout country you don't have a uniform structure. We get confused what is state tax, what is center tax in different states. One state has one type of taxing structure. Too much diversity is there, it is not uniform, it becomes difficult to do business in India. If I open one office in Delhi, I need a separate auditor for Delhi. And if I open another office in Chennai, then I need a separate auditor for Chennai. Accounting has to be done separately. So we are facing problems. So they said, fine, we'll make a uniform tax structure. So we changed the constitution. We changed the constitution and we said that, there is going to be a uniform tax structure in the country called the GST. So we implemented GST. So when we implemented GST, now judiciary will check whether what you have done, GST, whether it is obeying the constitution or is it violating the constitution and it is against the constitution. That is the main work of judiciary, to check the work of the legislature, whatever law they are making, whether it is obeying the constitution or whether it is violating the constitution. That is one part. Second part is executive, whether they are doing their work properly or not, or whether there is abuse of power, because you have transferred power into the hand of executive. So they are checking over the executive also, whether they are doing their work properly or not. Third part is the part that they handle cases of people, problems of people that they have with the government or their internal personal problems. All these fall under your judiciary. So judiciary does all this work. Okay, so you have divided your constitution into three different organs, and that is called as legislative, executive, and judiciary. And this is called as division of power. Okay, you can call it as division of power or separation of power. There is not a larger difference in these two terms, but generally we say that, it is separation of power. So we have separated the three activities of the government. So one part of the body is trying to do lawmaking process. Another body is trying to implement the lawmaking process, law made. And the third one is checking whether these two are functioning properly or not. So why do you think we need to divide the power in a political structure? What will happen if you don't divide power?
No check.
No check. Very good. Then
Abusement of power.
abuse of power. Good. Then there are only 3 points. You've got 2 already. So there is a constant cross-checking on each other, and then to avoid abuse of power. And the third is
Feedback
they're
mechanism.
experts in their relevant fields. Okay, so they're
Feedback.
experts in their relevant fields. Any other point?
Feedback of
No proper implementation.
Chaturvedi, very good. Yes, somebody else was speaking.
No proper implementation.
No proper.
Implementation of laws.
Okay, so if power is concentrated into the hands of one person, then it is not implemented properly. Okay, so the main idea is the legislature checks over the executive. So the lawmaking body, whatever is there, it checks over the executive. How does legislature check over the executive? You see that we are all asking questions to ministers. So we are asking our finance minister questions. We are asking our home minister questions. We are asking our prime minister questions. So where do we ask them questions? In the sessions. So you see that the parliament session is going on, and you see that they are accusing the government. They are telling that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, or you're promoting a particular person. All these things you see, so many questions are raised by opposition party to the ruling party. So what is the ruling party here? The ruling party is the party which has majority in the house, means it has more than 50% of the seats. So if there are 100 people, 51 people is the majority, 49 is the minority. So whoever has 50% plus one seat, they are called as the majority party of the house. So majority party of the house currently in your country is BJP. It may change, it may not change after the elections. So currently the majority party is BJP in the country. So you have more than 50% of the seats, so they are majority, so they become the ruling party. And your opposition party, you don't have currently an opposition party in the country, because to become an opposition party, you need to get 10% of the seats. And none of the opposition parties which lost the elections, they were not able to get 10% of the seats. So you exactly don't have, technically, constitutionally speaking, at the moment in the country, we don't have an opposition party, but there are many people in opposition. You don't have opposition party. A single party with 10% seats are not there. But you have people who are opposing BJP. So you say people in opposition. So whenever you see media, they are very clearly speaking about it, and they don't call Congress as the opposition party. They are calling them as opposition MPs, or they are calling them as opposition people. So people in the opposition question the ruling government. Okay. So what does the ruling government do? Ruling government has 50% plus one seat or more. So it has majority members in the parliament. And out of that, what it does, it selects few people and it makes them ministers. Okay, so now if everybody wins the election in your BJP, you cannot expect 300 plus people to become ministers. So you have limited set of ministers. So few people from the party will be made ministers, and these ministers are only the executive. Okay, so you have legislature checks on the executive. So whoever is the minister, your opposition people are asking them questions constantly, and they have to answer to it. So when they answer that, you will get an answer, and whether you're satisfied or not with that, you can continue with the questioning. That is one mechanism of how your legislature checks over your executive. Okay. So your judiciary now checks over your legislature, whether it is making a law or not. So for example, in your country, you had a problem. You had a problem of triple talaq. Okay. So triple talaq, instant triple talaq was a very big issue in the country. Anywhere, any person wanted to divorce, it was very, unjustified, because male only could give that divorce, female could not exercise it, and it was not in line with the constitution. It was based on some religious laws. So what your Supreme Court said, cases of triple talaq are increasing in the court, and we cannot handle every case, and we cannot individually go on giving justice to every Muslim woman in the country. You make a law for it, in which that Muslim woman belonging to any part of the belonging anywhere in the country gets justice automatically from the law that is made. So after there was compulsion from your court to the legislature telling that you have neglected this area and there is no proper justice For a Muslim woman, when you compare her with a Hindu woman, Christian woman, Buddhist woman, she is getting proper compensation. She is not subjected to instant talaq. She has more justice in the country compared to Muslim women. So you're discriminating here. So it is not proper. So make a law for it. And then your parliament said that instant triple talaq is banned in the country, and we had to ban triple talaq. So triple talaq got banned. So judiciary tells work to the legislature when it is not doing it. Okay, so they make them work for it. They tell bring a law for it. And when you bring a law for it, they'll also check it whether it is constitutional or non-constitutional. At the same time, executive also. You have a problem with the minister, they ask the minister question and that minister has to answer for it. Okay, so you have a problem with GST. So they ask the ministry, what is the problem with GST going on like this? People have an issue with it, look into it. Or for example, if you find a person or a minister not working and you complain against it, then court looks into the matter and court says you have to do this work. So court will give orders to the government to work. So that is the control of judiciary on the executive. So legislature can control your executive. Judiciary can control your legislature and executive. And now judiciary also has to be controlled. If you don't control judiciary, then judges will assume superpower because already they have so much power of interpreting the constitution. So your legislature has power to remove Supreme Court judge and High Court judge. So if they find that the judge is not functioning properly, or if there is malfunction in the activities of the judge only, okay, so malified is there in the judge only, then legislature is the one who removes the judge. Court cannot remove the judge. Okay, so Supreme Court itself cannot remove its own judge. It is the members of the parliament, that is your MPs, who remove the judge of Supreme Court and your High Court. So that is a mechanism in which you keep a check on the court. So you see all three organs are power into a single person's hand or a single organ's hand. So that is how your Indian constitution has become one of the best constitutions in the world. Okay, so very simple example. Okay, so I'll try to, yes.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, this judiciary is been reporting, or you can say, accountable to the parliament, legislative.
Can you
however,
please be a little louder? Your voice is very low.
yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying कि Supreme Court judge or any judge, state court judge, is been accountable to the parliament. Okay, parliament has the right to take action against them, and but executive body is been accountable to both legislative and judiciary, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. Thank you.
That's your doubt. Okay. So they are more responsible to both legislature and executive. Okay. So I'll take a very simple example and I'll try to explain it. So if you see the movie Bahubali, I assume that all of you would have seen the movie, and it is about governance. So when you see there's a hero in the movie and there is a villain in the movie. So you see that Bahubali is the hero of the movie. Why do you feel Bahubali was the hero?
Because he is fair in his decision.
With whom did he share his decisions?
With the this his Janta.
With the people, ma'am.
With?
Yeah.
With the general
people.
With the general people. Okay. So when you see the villain of the movie, I am not able to exactly remember the name of the villain in the movie. It is
Mr.
Rana
Rana.
Daggubati. So Rana Daggubati, I don't know the character, I know the person. So Rana Daggubati, why do you feel you didn't like him?
Basically, he's an authoritarian. I mean,
he is an authoritative. So you see that Rana Daggubati neither listened to his mother nor his father. So even though his father was in support of him, Father also was scared of the son. And father never opposed any decision of the son. While son was the sole decision maker, he took all the decisions. That is why he went on taking decisions according to his instinct, and he ended up taking wrong decisions. And that is why he got killed in the movie. On the other hand, when you see the role of Bahubali, it was very quite well balanced. First of all, he always listened to his mother, who was a political expert. Second was Katappa, who was his military general, the father, but father didn't go and give the advice. Fourth is took the advice of the wife also. Fifth, took the advice of the people also. So you see the role there. He is not taking any decision based on his instinct or based on the heat of the moment. Rather, he is listening to people around him. He's seeing the situation, analyzing it, and then making a decision. So it is very important that he shared that respect to his mother. That share of respect to his mother is nothing but share of power with mother. He respected his army general as his own family member, means he's transferring part of power to his own hands. And that army general has rights and authority to give an opinion to him, to give a counsel to him. So he's counseling him and he's telling him what is good, what is bad. So in the movie, you see that it was respect, but respect is nothing but share of power. So you're seeing that the person shared power with different members of the family. With very important that we share power. If you don't share power, if you give it into the hands of one person, then we end up like ancient Indian kingdoms. So you see, when Ashoka was there, the empire was great. It is one of the greatest empires that we have seen. And immediately after Ashoka, you don't know anybody in Mauryan kingdom at all, because it was authoritarian power. They were able to control everything. They were very good kings. They exercised it very well. But after that, the next successor was not as capable of Ashoka. So you don't remember the future generations after Ashoka. So if you look at it the same way, Akbar was very, able to control the country, very ably manage the secularism, etc. So he's very well remembered. But immediately after him, you don't see great achievements coming out of Jahangir Shah Jahan. And Aurangzeb tried to reinstall that Mughal empire suzerainty or that authority. But you see that he was not very effective in it, because he became an authoritarian and he didn't understand the crux of Indian administration at all. So you don't remember Aurangzeb for anything, or you don't even see Aurangzeb achieving anything. First, he was not even able to capture Shivaji from South India. So he was not able to bring anything to the country. Nothing good came out of Aurangzeb. And Aurangzeb, after Aurangzeb, you see that in next 3 or 4 kings, there is complete downfall of Mughal empire itself. So we don't want something like that to happen in Indian constitution. We don't want. Putin is there in Russia, so you know that Russia is functioning very well. But after Putin, you don't know what is going to happen with Russia. Okay, so same thing. After Xi Jinping, we don't know what is going to happen with China. After Kim, you don't know what is going to happen with Korea. So we don't know. There is no assurity of it. But India, whether there is Modi this time, or you have a new person from somewhere coming and becoming the prime minister in 2024, or you have Mamata Banerjee, or you have Kejriwal, or you have Rahul Gandhi, or you have Kharge, anybody you have as a prime minister candidate, nothing is going to change in the country. Only the way they function, their priorities are going to change. One government may focus more on women, one government may focus more on industrial development, one government may focus more on agriculture. So only their focus is going to change, but nothing is going to change. Everything is going to function normally as it is. So that is what is very important for India. So that is why we have done separation of powers. We have separated it to keep the ruling government under check, to keep the legislature under check, to keep the judiciary under check. So everything functions in a particular way, in a controlled way, and nobody assumes overpower. Nobody is authoritarian. So if you see the case of Pakistan, Musharraf was an army commander who became the head of the country for few years. So he took over under military rule. So you don't see that things happening randomly like that in India. So drastic change in political structure is not there in India. Drastically, nothing like that is happening in India. Nothing like that is happening in Bangladesh. So you see that we are more stable. The more stable you are, the more FDIs will come into your country. The more countries will want to associate with you for business. So everything boils down to business these days. So you have to increase your GDP. So the idea of the government is to increase GDP. GDP comes, your lives are good. So you have to increase GDP. So the more stable the structure is, the more GDP the country will have, because we are having trade relationships everywhere. Will you have a assured trade relationship with Pakistan? We don't know what will happen in Pakistan. Will you have some stable trade relationship with North Korea? We don't know. We don't know. So you don't predict, you don't invest your money into it, you don't develop relationships with them unless it is unavoidable. But on the other hand, you see US, UK, or any other country, we are very confident of their political structure. So you go very easily, you sign agreements with them. Only now it is that your prime minister is free, he goes and he signs the agreement. If prime minister now is busy in the elections, obviously your foreign minister itself, external affairs minister, is signing the agreements with those countries because they have a stable structure. Stable structure is the one that brings money into the country. So we need to have a stable structure. This is the rock foundation of your constitution, which has separated powers and brought stability into the structure. Okay, so please give the heading, separation of powers. Indian political structure divides power into three organs. Put a hyphen: legislature, law-making body, parliament with Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha at center is the legislature. Full stop. Similarly, states have legislative assembly and legislative council as law-making bodies for state. Second one, executive, put a hyphen, implementation of law. Ruling government has different ministries which implements laws in the country. Next, judiciary, put a hyphen, interpreter of constitution, comma, interpreter of new laws in the country and declares if a law is constitutional or unconstitutional. Full stop. They check on the legislature and executive. Full stop. They deliver justice to common people. Next paragraph. Separation of power helps in avoiding despotic rule or authoritarian rule. Despotic rule, DESPOTIC, it is on the screen, or authoritarian rule in the country. A well-balanced and helps in having a well-balanced and stable political structure. Next, I didn't tell about the books. So generally your Lakshmikant is called as the Bible of polity. So if you finish Lakshmikant thoroughly and very well, if you read it 4 or 5 times, then that is, more or less, it will cover up to 70% of your syllabus. Okay, so one book that you can follow is Lakshmikant. You must follow, not follow. Okay, so you must and should follow Lakshmikant. So please purchase the latest edition of Lakshmikant. Don't take the old editions or some other edition because it is, low priced on internet. So Lakshmikant, Indian Polity. So please purchase these. Please purchase this book. And another book is by Ganesh Subramaniam. It is a mixture of all books. They have combined all books and they've written and they've given MCQs also. The name of the book is Indian Constitution and Indian Polity. Another book popularly followed is D.D. Basu. If you want, you all can read Subhash Kashyap. I'd like to tell, don't take all the books at a time and don't start reading everything at a time. Take Lakshmikant, start reading Lakshmikant. First finish it 1 or 2 times and then you can go to D.D. Basu. D.D. Basu, Ganesh Subramaniam, Lakshmikant is more than enough. So after reading these books 3 or 4 times every day in newspaper, you get articles. So there are editorial articles in the center of the page, and that is the most important part of the newspaper. So generally you have 6 to 7 articles every day. Out of these 6 to 7 articles, now 2 at least will be on polity. Some days there are 4 on 5 on polity. So 2 at least every day are on polity. Now we are heading towards elections, so there will be more polity in it. So read that newspaper article. Please follow that editorial section regularly. So if you follow editorials with 2 of the textbooks, Lakshmikant and Ganesh Subramaniam or Lakshmikant and D.D. Basu, will be more than enough. But Lakshmikant, you should know it, word by word, line by line. Please read every line very carefully. The book is very well crafted and it is suited for competitive exam, only written specifically for competitive exam. So each and every line is information. So please read each and every line. Try to understand each and every line, why he has added that line. And without any importance, he has not added any line. So Lakshmikant, if you see, these years 1 or 2 questions are not coming from Lakshmikant, but until 2021, if you see the question paper, any question in polity you pick it up, if you go and carefully read Lakshmikant, the answer is hidden in between the lines. So very careful reading, slow reading, try to understand what he is trying to tell in each and every statement. It will help you to understand it at greater depth. It is, at appropriate depth that you require for the exam. Combine it with one other book. It can be either D.D. Basu or it can be Ganesh Subramaniam. Please combine it with one other book, and that should be more than enough for your preparation. Beyond this, you don't need any other book for preparation. Plus, please try to do this first. Then you can look into other books and textbooks. Okay. So these are the books that you will have to follow. The next term that we are going to come is federalism. So you would have heard about federalism, especially in US. If you are observing series and all, then they say US federal. What is federalism? This we have to deal in greater depth. I'm just trying to make you understand the term, that's all. Okay, so I'm not trying to talk about entire federalism. So entire federalism is, a bigger topic in depth, which has to be done in 1 or 2 classes. So we'll do federalism in depth, only federalism understanding. Now you just tell me what you understand by federalism.
Yeah, the division of power from central and the state, ma'am.
Yes, very good. Okay, so when you have 2 governments or more governments, then you call it as federalism. So if you see, you're voting 2 times. One, you are voting for the center, one, you are voting for the state. So if you are located in a state, then you have a prime minister, then you have a chief minister. So you have 2 levels of government. So you are stratifying the government, and you're stratifying it into center, state, local government. So India has 3-tier government. So you have divided it into tiers. So you have panchayat or municipality. If you're in a rural area, you're in panchayat. If you're in an urban area, you're in a municipality. That is the grassroots level of administration. Above that, you have state level administration. Above that, you have central or union government administration. Okay. So these are the 3 levels. So when Rishi Sunak is a single government, central government there, you don't have any state government, because the country itself is so small, you cannot divide it into states. There is no point in having so many levels of governance, because it is not a large area. India is a large area with a huge population. So you need different levels of administration. I am not telling India is federal. India is a combination of unitary and federalism. We call India as quasi-federal. So we'll get into that term later. Okay, so we'll get into that term later, and we'll get into understanding how India functions later. For now, I want you to understand that, the government is divided into different tiers or levels, and you function with 2 or more levels of government in the country. That is called as your federalism. Opposite of federalism will be unitary. Okay, so opposite of federalism will be unitary. Unitary means a single government is there in the country, and a single government is looking after the entire territory of the country. Example is Britain. Very small country, single government. Okay. Example can be your countries like Netherlands, etc., which are very small and they have a single level of governance and they have a single government looking after the entire territory of the country. So this is the difference between federalism and your unitary. So please write down federalism in a country's political structure. If the government has been divided into different levels such as union, state, union, state, or local government and accommodates more than one government, then it is called as federalism. Then it is called as federal structure. Next, unitary. A country with single level of authority or government is unitary structure. Most of you know parliament. Okay, so parliament is nothing but it is your legislature. I just now talked about three organs in which we first talked about legislature. Legislature is law-making body. That law-making body in India is called as parliament. So we have two houses in parliament. Okay, so parliament is divided into two houses. So one is your Rajya Sabha. What do you understand by the name Rajya Sabha? It is for the states. Rajya means states. So Rajya Sabha, so it is for the interest of the states. Okay, now I told you South India has so much problem with the budget. So there is no point in discussing it in Lok Sabha because it doesn't concern the entire country. Okay, if you take now, for example, Bihar, Jharkhand, etc., not unhappy with the budget, they're happy with the budget. Why do you want to discuss one state's problem in the entire country's issues? So Rajya Sabha will focus on the problems of the state. One state is telling that I am not getting enough money. Another state is telling that I am not getting enough money. There are 3 or 4 states who have raised this issue. So that 3 or 4 states who have problem have to talk it in Rajya Sabha because it is the problem of the state. 2 states are fighting for border. 2 states are fighting for all these things you will put have a problem which concerns the entire country. Then it is discussed under Lok Sabha. Okay, so Lok Sabha concerns the issues of national interest and not the interest of the state. So now, for example, unemployment, drought in the country. Okay, so all these issues are concerning the national interest, development of women, girl child education. All this will be in the interest of the country. So in the interest of the country, when you have to do a discussion, it will be in Lok Sabha. In the interest of the state, when you have to do some discussion, it will be in Rajya Sabha. So what do you call Rajya Sabha also as? You call Rajya Sabha also as upper house. So Rajya Sabha is upper house, Lok Sabha is lower house. Okay. So you have two houses. So when you have two houses, it is also called as bicameral. Okay. So bicameral means it is two houses. Unicameral means a single house. Bicameral means two houses. Okay, so these are the other general terms which most of you are aware, but if you don't know, please write down. Parliament, put a hyphen. Law-making body at union. Law-making body at union. See, in India, please don't use the term center, center, center. It is union. So in India, we use the term union instead of center. So try to use the word union. It is more a better term to be used. Okay, so law-making body at the union. It has two houses, Rajya Sabha. It has two houses, Rajya Sabha. Put a hyphen. Discusses the interest of state. Discusses the interests of the state. Second one, Lok Sabha. Discusses the interests of entire nation. Discusses the interest of entire nation. Full stop. Next term is bicameral. When there are two houses in legislature, it is called as bicameral. So whenever you're writing answers and you want to write the union lawmaking body, or you want to write central lawmaking body or central legislature, you'll simply write it as parliament. So if you write it as parliament, it is understood that it is the legislature at the center. Okay. If you want to write the lawmaking body at the state, then you will write it as state legislature. The same work that your parliament does at state level, it is done by state legislature. So few states have both MLA and MLC. Few states have only MLAs, only legislative assembly. Okay, so write down state legislature. I don't think everybody will know about it. So write down state legislature. It is a lawmaking body at the state level. It is the lawmaking body at the state level. It can be unicameral. It can be unicameral with only legislative assembly or it can be bicameral with both legislative assembly and legislative council, or both legislative assembly and council. Yes, what is your question?
Ma'am, what is the reason for some states have being bicameral or some other unicameral, ma'am?
See,
Ma'am, why is Rajya Sabha called the upper house?
when India became independent, princely states were not willing to join. And they said that, the union government will take away all the power from them. So your union government said, no, the interest of the state is going to be very important for us. And central government is not going to usurp all the power or take away all the rights and powers of the state. So please come and join the Union of India. And your interest will be put first. So upper house, the interest of the state is put first and then the national interest is put. That is just by convention to convince the princely states.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, it has got nothing to do with power. Upper house doesn't have more power and lower house doesn't mean that it has less power. In fact, Lok Sabha has more power when compared to Rajya Sabha. So we'll discuss that also. So it is just by convention, it is called as upper house. Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Anybody else, any other doubt? Okay. If you all have no other doubt, please next write down democracy.
Ma'am, I think it's
So
good
I'll
to
be talking.
it is good to close the day today, since class is up to 9:30 only, and I have office to attend.
No, class is up to 9:45. Every day it will start at 8:05 exactly, and it will continue till 9:45. You all were not informed about it?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so always remember, if you have my classes, it will always be 15 minutes or 20 minutes extra, because I cannot finish the syllabus in 1.5 hours. Then I cannot get into the detailing of it. So I'll take 15 or 20 minutes extra every day. Please, if you all are people who work from home, etc., put that timing bracket. Okay, so it will be 15 to 20 minutes extra. We'll start exactly every day at 8:05. We'll finish by 9:45 to 9:50. So I'll leave at 9:50. Today, because you all are asking to leave it early, I'll leave it early. But from tomorrow, please come prepared with a mindset of 950 or 945. Otherwise, we cannot go into greater depth. Okay.
Yeah, we don't have any concern, ma'am. It will be informed prior to that. Thank you for the information.
Okay. Please keep in mind, everybody. So please
Yeah.
go read these. It is not there in the textbook. Just try to read it and understand it, and come back tomorrow with the known terminologies. We'll get into important terminologies of democracy, secularism, republic, all these things tomorrow. Once you understand this, automatically you will understand the preamble of the Constitution. So tomorrow we'll be doing about the preamble, and we'll do the terminologies in the preamble. Okay. So that is the topic for tomorrow. So please purchase the book, start reading. Somebody asked about NCERT. Once we are done with this syllabus, you can just pick up 11th standard and 12th standard political science NCERT, and you'll finish it in one day. It is very simple. So major concepts are here. So after the classes, please read NCERT in 1 or 2 days. You will be able to cover it. NCERT is important, but read it after we cover the syllabus. It will be easy. Okay. So thank you for the session today. And tomorrow, please log in at 8:05. Classes are from Monday to Friday, 8:05 to 9:50. Okay. So thank you for the session. Any doubts you want to discuss, or shall I end it?
Ma'am, I
Thanks,
want
ma'am.
to give a compliment. Actually, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Ma'am, yeah, I'm Nandini. Actually, I've attended your geography classes also. It's really very nice, ma'am. You clarify the concepts very well. I really like your classes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if you have any doubts in future also, please get in touch with me through your institute. So get in touch, clear your geography doubts. I want to ensure that you all attend mapping questions, because that is where the actual focus is these days. Trend of the exam is in that way. So please try to read mapping also parallelly. Any doubts you all have through institute, please get back to me. I'll be happy to clear your doubts every time. Okay, yes. Judy has a doubt.
Yes, ma'am. I had to attend to one call, and I missed some things in between. Like we were talking about this upper house and all, no, ma'am. So am I audible, ma'am?
Please be a little louder.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes.
I was just wondering, like you mentioned, like the Rajya Sabha princely states were invited, and the name upper house was given. So you mentioned that like it's not more power because of the name upper. So it's like is it like the Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha, ma'am?
Yeah, Lok Sabha is more powerful than Rajya Sabha. We openly, explicitly don't tell that, Rajya Sabha has less power. We'll tell, Constitution has written it in a balanced way. But when we study Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha in depth, you'll understand that Lok Sabha is intentionally made more powerful than the states.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else, any other doubt?
Ma'am, when there is a issue between both the states, two different states, who resolves it?
Court, judiciary.
Which court, ma'am? Like Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha?
Supreme Court. You cannot go to one high court, because now I'll take a very simple example. Say, for example, your Rajasthan has a problem and Uttar Pradesh has a problem. Will you go to the High Court of Uttar Pradesh, or will you go to the High Court of Rajasthan? You cannot go to both. So you'll go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court, if it is willing to take the case, it will take the case, or it will assign Kerala High Court to take up the case. That is a neutral court which doesn't belong to either of these states. And Kerala High Court will be able to give unbiased justice to your Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan. So if Supreme Court wants to take it up, it will take it up to itself, and a bench will be set up, or else it will be sent to any other third party state which is not in the region. It will not send it to Bihar. It will not send it to Haryana, Punjab, which is in the nearby vicinity. It will be somewhere Manipur, or it can be Orissa, or it can be any of the southern states. That way, it will allocate it to some other high court, which can give unbiased judgment.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
When it comes to the Chandigarh, Haryana, Punjab, okay, so we know Chandigarh is been commonly shared by both the states. So we need to understand how that resolve things around Chandigarh.
Chandigarh is a common court because they have not come out with capital for these states. That is the issue. Bifurcation happened in 1966. After that, they were not able to come out with their own courts, and they are still sticking to Chandigarh as the common capital. So, in that case, Chandigarh court you cannot approach only. You will have to go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court will allocate some other court to it. So, allocating Haryana and Punjab is very, very difficult because you are still in the decision of where the Chandigarh belongs. So whether it belongs to Punjab or whether it belongs to Haryana, that issue only has not been resolved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Ma'am, ma'am, regarding this to study Lakshmi Khan, is there any pattern that has to be followed? Because it consists of a lot of chapters, right? So, in which chapter we have to start with? Is there any pattern?
Go with the syllabus that we are doing in the class. So from tomorrow onwards, we'll start with making of the constitution and preamble. So you can go with the class.
Got it. Got it.
Yes, Rohit.
Ma'am, Rohit Mitran here.
Yes, Rohit.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for all the analytical inputs, ma'am. It was, you gave us a new perspective.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay. Any other things to be talked about?
Yeah, ma'am. Overall, it's a good session. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, so we'll end the session here for today. Please do come back tomorrow and we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. So thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.